World Autism Day at the United Nations has not always been a time where we have had the opportunity to speak on our own behalf. One of the big challenges facing autistic people, not just in the United States, not just on the international scene, but throughout the world, and we're in close contact with our sister organizations in other nations working on this, is that too much of the conversation on autism is being pursued without the voices of those of us on the autism spectrum. To date, autistic people of all ages face higher levels of segregation in education, in housing, than other groups of people with disabilities. And part of the reason for that is that we have often privileged the voices of non-autistic researchers or clinicians over those of us on the autism spectrum ourselves. Some of our work is focused on trying to end that situation, to move to a context in which those of us on the autism spectrum, in partnership with our allies and friends, can have our voices heard in national forums. We've been very active recently in partnership with our colleagues to address the payment of people with disabilities less than minimum wage that exists in a variety of nations that have statutory exemptions to the minimum wage that unfortunately lead to disabled people being denied economic advancement and being removed from the mainstream of society. This has also looked at the enforcement of the UN Convention on the Rights of People with Disabilities, leading to inclusion of people with disabilities throughout society. But we've also tried to change the conversation about autism specifically. There's been a very heavy emphasis on trying to present autism as this recent phenomenon. Take children, and many of us have experienced discrimination and prejudice growing up. I was diagnosed when I was 12. Shortly afterwards, I was placed within a segregated special education school where I did not have the same opportunities as non-disabled peers. But we don't view ourselves as an epidemic or as a burden on society or as some problem that needs to be fixed. A growing body of research has shown that autistic people have always represented a constant presence in society at between 1% to 3% of the population. And now we are starting to recognize us, and now we are beginning to see a conversation emerge that sees our needs recognized. In 2006, when the World Autism Day discussions first were beginning to start off, a video was shown actually at the United Nations, and I want to briefly describe it because I think it captures the problems that we're trying to address in the current conversation on autism. The video was shown by a prominent group concerned with autism that is not run by autistic people, and it consisted of a series of vignettes from family members talking about how sorry to have an autistic child. And prior to the making of this video, we were informed that the parents were told, make sure not to clean your houses or take your children to therapy appointments for about a week beforehand, because we want you to look as pitiful as possible. One executive in the organization that was using the video to raise money commented that she had seriously considered taking her autistic child in the car and driving off the George Washington Bridge, but she didn't because she had a normal child as well. That's not how we view our lives, and that's the kind of message that often results when we see an emphasis on awareness at the expense of acceptance, at the expense of centering the voices of those of us who are most directly impacted, autistic people ourselves. So I want to thank you for the opportunity to share with you a little bit about our work. I hope we will have the opportunity to collaborate with many of you in the future in realizing the full implementation of of the UN Convention on the Rights of People with Disabilities. And as so many of you struggle for self-determination, for marginalized peoples from any number of places around the globe, we are engaged in a similar mission, and we too view our work within the all-important prism of the universal human and civil rights of human beings throughout the world. Thank you so much for the opportunity.